Happy Friday, everyone. We have a big pattern change on the way heading into next week with storm chances returning, and some of those could turn severe by the middle of the week. And we'll be watching the tropics yet again as another area of disturbed weather looks to get going down there into the Western Caribbean. So let's take a look at a big picture this morning on the North American view. And man, we're just coming off an unseasonably warm October. The jet stream's been well to the north pretty much all month long. We've got just this Pacific jet stream just locked in, loaded with warmer air just pulling in off the Pacific. There's yet another 594 ridge of high pressure that's going to be moving into the desert Southwest. Will likely bring triple digits back to Phoenix area, and then widespread 80s and 90s across the South with numerous records unfolding. And here's our game changer that's going to be building. There's a big storm system up here in the Aleutian Islands. This is finally going to bring the relief that's needed, at least across the middle of the part of the country, bringing storm chances back in the picture and much needed rain. So if we broaden the view and take a look at the satellite picture, you can see what's happening. You got a lot of clear skies with the ridge of high pressure pretty much dominating a good part of the country. There is Christy. Wow, Christy was one impressive hurricane. Luckily, this was just out in the open waters of the Pacific, but yesterday it blew up to a Category 5. It's the third one of the season, folks. But yes, luckily this is just safely out in the open waters of the Pacific, and eventually will just kind of fizzle out. And across the Western Caribbean, it's not much right now, but this is going to take time, right? We got this Central America gyra type atmosphere that's been, just festering for a while now. And you've seen what's happened with these systems. You get hardly anything, and all of a sudden it just kind of all comes together and it blows up into a hurricane. We yet still could have yet another storm that tries to develop sometime after Halloween, and we'll be watching this because steering currents would likely shift this north, likely towards Jamaica, Cuba, Bahamas, and even at this point you really can't even roll out Florida at this picture. But we got a lot of time to track that particular system. But before that, we got a lot of heat to contend with. There are your record highs today, folks. Another 26 could unfold with plenty of warm air, that new ridge of high pressure, upper 90s come back for the deserts. You've got 90s again over much of Texas, widespread 80s. All those circles are record high temperatures. Any cooler air is well to the north where the jet stream is, where you are seeing highs in the 50s. But the big change is going to be coming from the Pacific Northwest and our western areas. That's going to bring the unsettled weather coming back across the middle part of the country and bring rain opportunities. So if we look at the surface map, yeah, you can definitely see the severe clear skies across a good part of the country. There's just not much going on whatsoever. Just been incredibly dry for October. There's a low pressure down there into the Western Caribbean. That's that disturbance we'll be talking about. There is Christy still out there into the open waters of the Pacific. But this is the big storm. This is a 961 low pressure off the Aleutian Islands. This is going to be starting to dig into our western areas. We'll bring colder air for them, and snow in the mountain regions, and then storm chances return by Tuesday going into Wednesday, and then in your Halloween time frame as well. So if you can take a look at the big picture on the vorticity map, you can see it a little bit better, a little bit more swirls. The tight isobars is going to have a lot of wind associated with it as well. But again, the jet stream is just well north. There's not really much colder air to speak of. Further south, you're just contending with that dominant ridge of high pressure that's going to be sneaking back over the southern regions and keeping those record or even not near record high temperatures alive. So man, even by Monday, folks, after a warm weekend, you're going to be warm again, because look at the red line. That's your freezing line. It's well up into Canada. That just tells you we've got ridging in place, not much to speak of as far as precipitation, but the beginning stages of rain coming back for the Pacific Northwest. that's going to bring the beginning stages of the change that we're going to be talking about. But we still have to be dealing with the heat yet again, even on Tuesday, and that heat could be pretty intense, folks. Very rare you see something like this of 30 degrees, if not almost 35 degrees above average. That is insanely warm for this time of year. We're getting into close to Halloween, and that's the 15 to 35 degrees above average. That just tells you, yeah, something significant is going to be on the way, especially with low temperatures soaring to basically 70 degrees up in Missouri. Iowa checking in the upper 60s. I mean, you got 60s surging all the way into Minnesota. These are low temperatures at the end of October, folks. That is, woo, that is crazy warm for this time of year. But there's the big change that is on the way with all the blue finally showing up on the map. What you'd like to see this time of year is colder temperatures, which you're expecting to see. Yes, those are some freezing temperatures coming back in the picture across the western regions, and that is going to bring the clash in air masses. And what we're talking about is the dew points. I mean, look at this, folks. You can see the sharp gradient where you've got the 60s and the 50s dew points surging in off the Gulf, and you've got the 30s dew points, just drier air with that colder air coming in from the northwest. It's right here where you've got that battle zone into play. That's where he's going to set the stage, likely starting on Tuesday in the form of severe storms, and that will likely continue to Wednesday and even go into Thursday for your Halloween. So yeah, the battle zone is right in the middle of the country. All the warmth starts pressing eastward, so you're going to be starting to get more record high temperatures across the northeast, much of the southeast and our eastern zones, while much of the west just starts to turn cold. And then in the middle is your battle zone, and that's where the storms are going to unfold, and actually much needed rain. Some of these areas hasn't seen a drop all month long, if you can believe that. But there's the setup on the upper level winds, as we'll start to see some of those upper level winds about 17,000 feet up in the atmosphere, screaming across 80, 90, if not almost approaching 100 knots. So you are going to have some of the little bit of a split in the atmosphere, and could set the stage for severe storms likely to unfold from the Texas Panhandle all the way to Wisconsin starting on that Tuesday timeframe. And that will likely lead into Wednesday, as that slow moving front will slowly shift across the middle part of the country, overturning that atmosphere and bringing those showers and thunderstorms, and likely turning severe, especially further north areas into Iowa, getting into Wisconsin, up there into the upper peninsula. But yes, the timing's a little bit uncertainty. Of course, we're still days away, but it likely starts on Tuesday night, heading into overnight on Tuesday night, going into Wednesday morning, with the clash in air masses, with that surge in dew points. We'll be looking at the showers and thunderstorms, and likely lightning start to light up the sky across the Texas Panhandle all the way to Wisconsin by then, through Minnesota. So you have the cold air pressing down from the northwest. You'll have snow coming back in the picture for the higher elevations, bleeding into Colorado there. And then you have the warmth coming back with the higher dew points, the moisture coming back into play. Finally, we'll start to talking about rain opportunities again for Texas into Oklahoma starting on Wednesday. So that'll be a welcome sight. Unfortunately, further north, they're more severe. They're likely going to be, especially as you get closer to the north central U.S. and up across the upper Midwest. But nonetheless, by Thursday, by the time you head into Halloween, we'll be watching a line of showers and thunderstorms move from the northwest down to the southeast, through Oklahoma, through Texas, through the Dallas-Fort Worth area, through central Texas, going into East Texas, through Arkansas, back into Missouri, as well as into Illinois, and up here into, getting into Michigan. But it looks to kind of put on the brakes, because it doesn't look to continue. So for those areas that just got trenched during Helene, like places like Atlanta, saw like 10 inches on that day for those couple of days, then you haven't really seen anything, right? So you actually might go the entire month of October without even seeing any rain whatsoever. So that's been a drastic difference. It's just been feast or famine out there, for the month of October. And yeah, here's the setup going into the tropics. So yes, during we got this area of disturbed weather. The Climate Prediction Center's got this as a 40% probability. The European ensembles has at least some sort of storm formation trying to develop down there in the Western Caribbean going into Halloween and the days after Halloween. And after it forms, it will likely start shifting further north, and the upper level winds will likely steer it towards Jamaica, possibly the Cayman Islands, Cuba, the Bahamas. And again, you can't even rule out at this point in time, it hasn't even formed yet, right? The state of Florida. So we still definitely have to, be on the lookout for this system, because the colder air just doesn't make it that far into the southeast. I think you continue to remain on the warmer side. These are temperatures for your Halloween well above average, and for the much of the New England areas and much of the east, while you have that just cloud cover and showers and thunderstorms, will keep the temperatures at least somewhat at bay, while much of the colder air is out west. And the push isn't that far east, it kind of backs up as well. So by Saturday, by the weekend, you got the warmer conditions still unfolding across the lower 48. And what's interesting, again, we'll have to watch, because we'll have a high pressure locked over the east. We've got low pressure down there into the Cuba, and then we'll have the winds trying to steer this back towards the United States, where this cold front just kind of gets stalled across this region. So that's what I mean, that it opens the door at least for the possibility of extending this into the Bahamas, possibly Florida. So we'll have to watch this, because we don't have a cold front just kind of wipe it out and sweep it out to sea, as kind of as it looks right now. So overall, the big picture looks like this going into next week. We'll have the pretty chilly air, if not colder air mass, coming back into play. So after you dominate and reach the triple digits back into Phoenix again, you are going to be looking at that much needed cool down on the way, with well below average temperatures coming back into much of the western regions. Middle part of the country will have that clash in temperatures, but towards Halloween and the days leading just after Halloween, you'll be really warm across the southeast, much of the Ohio Valley, getting into Kentucky, Tennessee Valley, much of the mid-Atlantic, and much of the New England northeastern states will likely see well above average, if not even some record-breaking temperatures. But there's the middle part of the country, and the rain, finally the green showing back up on the map, with much needed rain extending from Texas to Oklahoma to Arkansas, through the Central Plains, much of Missouri, back into Iowa, getting into Illinois, as well as Minnesota and Wisconsin, while much of the east under that ridge of high pressure will likely continue to remain on the drier side. But down here towards Florida, again, we'll have to be watching this for a storm development coming out of the Western Caribbean after Halloween, and then the days leading into November, shifting that further north towards the Bahamas, towards Cuba, possibly Florida. So we got a long time to watch this. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me next update, why I protect you before and after the storm.